5 hours of summer once a week? Yeah. 5 hours of... All right. 5...
Illuminating television.
These messages. We'll be right back.
One Saturday morning can wait a bit because we gotta go back here. ABC would revolutionize children's Saturday mornings with the advent of the Saturday morning cartoon block. During this time, the shows were limited to only 2 that ABC produced, such as Acrobat Ranch, one of the first cartoons made for Saturday mornings, and Animal Clinic. During this time, it would introduce kids to waking up on Saturday mornings to watch television and be predisposed to broadcast commercialism.
Cursed broadcast commercialism.
Fast forward to the 70s would change Saturday morning cartoon programming by doing these shorts. Schoolhouse Rock was a short interstitial that would take 15-minute ad times to make the Saturday morning block more educational. The series was made by David McCall after his son would have trouble with his multiplication tables. However, he would remember Rolling Stones lyrics and recite them. Using music, he would create a series using music and incorporating various educational themes. David would hire Bob Duro to make the songs for the series, which he would come up with the famous song 3 is a Magic Number. After the song was made, would grab the attention of Tom Yo, who would come up with the animation to the song. As this progressed, ABC producer Radford Stone would aim to pitch the show to ABC, which would then go to Chuck Jones and Michael Eisner to be greenlit as a show. The song 3 is a Magic Number would then be debuted alongside Curiosity Shop, an animated series produced by Chuck on September 7th of 1971. As this happens, many sponsors such as General Foods, Kellogg's, McDonald's, Nabisco, and Kenner Toys would go on to fund more episodes of Schoolhouse Rock. After the debut as a standalone series on January 6 of 1973, Schoolhouse Rock would air the Multiplication Rock series, as the short would be the biggest and longest running short, second to the Bod Squad and Time for Timer. From 1973 to 75 would be when Schoolhouse Rock would get a second season and get additional topics such as grammar, America, and science rock. During the early 90s, Saturday mornings were a mixture of cartoons and a block called MCTV, or More Cool TV, which would debut the cartoon Hammerman. I mean, it would not last long, and to be fair to MC Hammer, who's really gonna touch this? Well, at the same time would air the next branch of One Saturday Morning. Now, I know what you're gonna say. This has nothing to do with OSM, and this would be in a different video. And to that I say, if there wasn't a Disney afternoon, there is an OSM or OneToo. Trust me, it's all intertwined. I'll give you all the bookmarks. Disney Afternoon wasn't a block until the 1990s. DuckTales, however, would be the driving force for the block to be launched. On September 18, 1987 was when DuckTales would air. At the same time, it would air on different channels, primarily on syndications in the mornings. This is where Disney comes in. During the early 90s, Disney was aiming to buy many independent stations from Los Angeles under Buena Vista Television, and would take back broadcast rights of DuckTales along with Chip and Dale and be aired under certain LA indie local channels. Michael Eisner and Barry Diller would get extremely pissed, as Disney was not only breaching the contract but taking control of other syndications and taking more ad revenue with broadcast rights, leading to the general formation of Fox Kids. Before you say anything, all right, I already know what you guys are going to ask me. This is when the Disney Afternoon would air on September 10th of 1990. Shows such as Tailspin, The Adventures of Gummy Bears, Chip and Dale Rescue Adventures, and Darkwing Duck were original and made for the Disney Afternoon. Disney's high-grossing movies such as Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, and The Lion King would also get spin-off shows for the block. Although shows like Gargoyles, Quack Pack, and Goof Troop would keep the block going, it would not be long before 1996 would be the greatest decline for the Disney Afternoon, as Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network would take over 24-hour time slots, and the Disney Afternoon would not be able to compete with ever-growing competition. Later on, an alliance would be made with Kellogg's, which we'll have to bookmark here because now we get to why you clicked on this video.
Trees, holly, arbor days, elation spreads the word, a constellation about trees. Trees are terrific. 5 hours of summer.
I know I was here, so let's rewind it 1 year back. ABC Capital Cities would be bought out by the Walt Disney Company in early 1995. ABC and Disney would finalize the deal by the fall of 1996. It debuted as ABC Saturday Mornings. It would air the 5th season of Doug after Jumbo Pictures would be dropped by Nickelodeon, Mighty Ducks, and Jungle Cubs. Additional shows would be Nightmare Ned and reruns of Gargoyles. One Saturday Morning's concept was made by Michael Eisner and Peter Hastings, who quit working for Warner Bros. Entertainment. It was picked up by Michael to create the new Saturday Morning block. Peter would pitch that Saturday morning is different from any other morning, mainly because it's a holiday for kids after a 5-day school week. Michael aimed to compete on the level of Fox Kids and Kids WB, and Peter would come up with the OSM intro being buildings in a dystopian city aiming to escape the weekday rat race. The scenes in animation was virtual set technology, as this was an up-and-coming animation and medium to use. Prudence Fenton would be tasked along with Eisner and Hastings to hire on different animation studios and virtual program studios to take on the tasks such as Acorn, Rutherford Bench Studios, Pop, and LSET. The early concept of the One building was a train station, mainly Grand Central Station, but was settled on making the interior virtual and bigger with the Grand Central Station concept. The set date for OSM was September 6 of 1997. However, it was delayed due to ABC airing the funeral of Princess Diana. It was pushed to September 13, 1997, along with 2 new shows made for the block, Recess and Pepper Ann. I already talked about Doug many times before, but these shows I have not talked about that are exclusive to One Saturday Morning. Recess was made for the OSM block, about a group of kids that look like something straight out of the Burger King Kids Club and their adventures in recess at 6th Street School. Created by Paul Germain and Joe Anasola Behair, trust me, it took me a while to get that name, would point out the social hierarchy of the playground while also pointing out elementary school lore and school politics. I wonder what that reminds me of. The music composer was then Dennis M. Hannigan, responsible for the compositions from Rugrats and Cat Dog, which is why it sounds so familiar. The show itself would last 4 seasons with crossovers and a movie.
Iceberg, get ahead!
Pepper Ann was the second cartoon made for One Saturday Morning by Sue Rose and Tom Warburton, who would be good friends with Sue during his freelance days until being commissioned by Curious Pictures. Pepper Ann started off as a comic strip which would be under YM Magazine and later be a TV show for ABC. A coming-of-age story about adolescence, it would get 4 seasons and be the second longest Saturday morning cartoon. The problem would run as Pepper Ann would be bouncing from One Saturday Morning to OneToo to fill the lineup. Unaired episodes would also be aired on Toon Disney and Disney Channel. There was also a scrap movie meant for the theaters and never finished due to creative differences. So I'm going to take the time to point out One Saturday Morning. If you were to purchase specially marked boxes of Lunchables, Kool-Aid, Kraft Singles, or Post cereals, there was a fun prize that you would get. And what was that? Well, I have it right here. It's called Toon Twister TV. And it's this little box that they did with an event on One Saturday Morning. I think it was in June. And what you would do was that you would look into the mirror that you see. Well, most of you can't see it. And you would watch the episodes upside down. And in the booklet that I have right here, you can win prizes. And these prizes are, they're pretty good. So you have a One Saturday Morning cassette. You have Doug, Pepper Ann, and Recess action figures from Mattel. Wow, this is from the 90s, guys. I mean, wow. And then you also have the first VHS to Doug the movie. I mean, guys, look at this. I mean, this is vintage, man. Vintage stuff. But yeah, this was an event from One Saturday Morning that they did. And not only that, they had a book line, and not only that, they actually put out a tape cassette to One Saturday Morning. Lots of gems in this whole history. During its launch, OSM would give 3 original shows and 40-minute time slots, while the early morning would be dedicated to skits and interstitials, such as Squiggle Vision, better known as Science Court. Soup to Nuts is going to get its own video soon. Trust me, you want to stay for that one. Additional shows would come on such as 101 Dalmatians the series, The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Jungle Cubs, and Mickey Mouse Works, while Sabrina the animated series would air in 1999. Live-action shorts were also a part of the block as well, starring Valerie Ray Miller, Paul Rugg, Jessica Purnell, and Brad Garrett as Jelly Roll the Elephant. During the 90s, the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show would air as shorts until AOL Time Warner would cease the contract in 2000. Keep your bookmark here, because I got more coming at you.
Birthday parties are real good. Drugs are bad. I wouldn't do drugs.
Now, this has traces of the Disney Afternoon and was the successor after Disney's takeover of ABC. Here's how. By 1996, the Disney Afternoon would see a drop in viewership as the competition from Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon became overwhelming. As this happened, the WB and UPN would throw their hats in the kids' cartoon block race. In order to save face, Disney would partner with the Leo Burnett Company and Kellogg's, its longtime sponsor, and make the Disney-Kellogg's Alliance. The Disney Afternoon's lineup would be changed, and the name would later be dropped. By January of '98, UPN would reach a deal with Disney on a weekday block, but it was not easy. At first, the deal would be an argument between UPN and Disney on what the block should be called, the quantity of EI programming that needed to be on the channel, and the amount of time it would air. It would be called off within a week of launching the deal, and UPN would then go over to Nickelodeon, which would deny them a weekday block until 2 years later when they reached a deal with CBS to create Nick on CBS. While in unison, would get to an agreement with Saban Entertainment, which would then air programs on UPN Kids, until Disney purchased 20th Century Fox. Agreements would resume in March of 1998. At first, the block was going to be under this name, Womptastic. For those who watched Recess, the word Womps was a word that TJ would use. Rethinking it over, Disney decided to differentiate the branding of OSM to OneToo. UPN Kids would end September 5th, 1999. Disney's OneToo would take its place the next day as a relaunch. We'll be right back with more One Saturday Morning. One Saturday Morning's ratings skyrocketed as it was on par with Kids WB and demolished Fox Kids. Let's face it, for those Fox Kids fans, Saban shows were meh, except for Power Rangers, okay? I'll give Power Rangers that, because that's all Saban had going for him. Had it not been for Power Rangers, Fox Kids would have been long forgotten. Near its second to third season of airing, The Weekenders, Disney's brand new show, would dethrone Pokemon as the most watched Saturday morning cartoon. TV Guide would call this phenomenon, quote, the show that murked Pokemon, while Variety reported that Pokemon lost 54 consecutive weeks of viewership, which is very interesting because the Johto Journeys was on at that time. In addition, the 2000s would make everything turn for the worse. OSM would receive a rebrand, and instead of the fun virtual world with mind-challenging shorts and interstitials, it would be watered down to an intro and show promotion, while at the same time introduce Teacher's Pet, House of Mouse, Timo Supremo, and Lloyd in Space. Views would take a nosedive as even live-action shows from the Disney Channel were making its way onto the block, such as Lizzie McGuire and Even Stevens. This was to promote Zoog Disney, as 2 live-action shows were under the OSM powered by Zoog. Now we get into the bane of existence, ABC Kids. While OSM was losing viewership with the new layout, the Walt Disney Company was making more purchases. Disney would buy Fox Family worldwide and own the Fox Family channel, which would include a 50% interest in Saban Entertainment on July 23, 2001, making Fox Kids non-existent, until Fox would collaborate with 4Kids Entertainment to create Fox Box and 4Kids TV. Fast forward to September 14, 2002, ABC would change the name of One Saturday Morning to ABC Kids as a moment of conquest to the Fox Family channel. On August 31st, 2003, Disney's OneToo was discontinued, albeit under a different name on Disney.com called Disney Animation Weekdays, leaving UPN with nothing to air for kids anymore. ABC Kids would also change the landscape from Grand Central Station, then kids playing in a park, to a sports stadium. Recess and The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh were the last OSM shows to be on ABC Kids until 2002. After the finales of these shows, ABC Kids would air mostly reruns from Toon Disney and the Disney Channel. Also, this was the same time where they just threw the illuminating television icon on shows that basically were not educational at all to save face for FCC regulations, which were still in effect and had no reason to be, as the early to mid 2000s was when Saturday morning cartoons were on their way out. NBA Inside Stuff was also a show on ABC, as the NBA would give over certain rights to ABC, while Lilo and Stitch the series would have its first debut on ABC Kids on September 20th, 2003. As Saban Entertainment would not have Fox Kids to air any Saban adapted shows on anymore, Power Rangers was then launched on ABC Kids during the Wild Force and Ninja Storm seasons. Power Rangers Dino Thunder and Jungle Fury were also aired as reruns, while ABC Family and Jetix was where new episodes would air. ABC Kids would then drop Fillmore and Recess as the last original cartoons on the block. ABC Kids would then have Hannah Montana and The Replacements as the last Disney Channel shows, as ABC Kids would have fulfilled the FCC guidelines on EI shows. After a while, the aesthetic changed from a sports arena to a rock concert. The next few years would seem to bring the block to an end. Considering ABC Kids would be nothing more than reruns of Disney Channel shows, the block would then be considered obsolete, and ABC would then cease ABC Kids on August 27th of 2011. As a result, ABC would then be giving back program rights to independent stations for 3 hours in replacement of the dead block. Having to follow Eli guidelines, ABC would then partner with Lydian Entertainment and would rest with Lydian's Weekend Adventure, which would continue to air currently. One Saturday Morning was never going to survive the future. At the rate of Disney purchases, along with ABC and Disney themselves making their channels more familiar for different audiences, on top of all that, the same sad story for Saturday morning cartoons, reruns, low viewership, extracurricular activities, and the advent of video games would put all Saturday morning blocks in the grave. In ABC's case, many shows had a 2-season run except for Recess and Pepper Ann. As Disney Channel was becoming widely available with cable being more affordable to family households, Jetix, Toon Disney, and ABC Family would make ABC Kids obsolete. OSM was an event. You had to have been there to experience the fun, education, and shows this block had. However, it remains in our hearts as 90s kids.
Epilogue.
So I'm gonna get these framed, but if you can see right here, you actually have the Toon Twister TV, which was in a Nickelodeon magazine. So if you can look at that right here, and it's got the original Lunchables father-son duo. And this is, again, you know, this is from 1999, guys. 1999. What a time to be alive. I think I was like 4 or 5 at that time. And then you also have this right here. And you can either do it here, or you could do it here. What is this? Oh, well, we have something called Rampage 2, if you guys remember Rampage. And, oh, what is this? Huh. It's from Nickelodeon Magazine, so let's read this real quick. Stay with me, guys. Stay with me. The 2000s is coming, and the world is counting down to the new millennium. Ever wonder what the next 1,000 years would be like? Nickelodeon wants to hear what you think, so sharpen up your turbo-powered laser pencil and tell us in words or pictures, how will kids in the future travel, eat, read, play, sleep, shower, learn, do the hokey pokey? How will things look? Your money, your shoes, your telephone, your clothes, your hair, your TV, your room, your dreams.